Yeah, I need you on the daily. Couple weeks and I'd go crazy. Yeah, I need you on the regular. Yeah, I need you, yeah, I'm telling ya. Yeah, I need you on the daily.
Hi, welcome to Devos with Debbie. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between what God exalts and what we exalt. So right off the bat, let's jump into Luke 16 and these particular verses. So this is Luke 16 verses 14, and we'll just look through 15. Sorry, that was a long pause. The Pharisees, who were lovers of money, heard all these things, and they ridiculed him. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to read back a little bit. Verse 13 to 15. Take two. No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. The Pharisees, who were lovers of money, heard all these things, and they ridiculed him. And he said to them, You are those who justify yourselves before men, but God knows your hearts. For what is exalted among men is an abomination in the sight of God. So, right off the bat, we see some tough love from Jesus. And so a reality check basically saying, okay, money is something that God can use for his glory. But it is never and has never been designed to be worshipped or to replace God and to be served. Either we serve God or money, but we can't serve them both. I remember another passage just off the top of my head where it says, like, you can't serve two masters. This is Jesus speaking to, like, because you'll be slave to one. I can't even remember. I'm so sorry. So let's just push on through. Whew, this is totally unedited. Yeah. So, with that, I was thinking about what we exalt and versus what God exalts. So not everyone on earth is exalted, in God's eyes. You know, like the people who are important, famous, valuable here, God may not have that same opinion. He tends to exalt the humble, not the proud. And we see this unique story. It's kind of one of the most distinct parables that Jesus tells of a rich man and Lazarus, who is a poor man. And right off the bat, we already see where honor is being bestowed, because the rich man is not ever given a name, but the poor man is given a name, Lazarus. And so we see this rich man who's clothed in purple and fine linen, who feasted ridiculously well every day. And at his gate, there was this poor man named Lazarus who's covered with sores, who just wasn't willing to be fed with anything that fell from the rich man's table. But even the dogs would come and lick his sores. Like, talk about stark contrast. You have a guy who's well-dressed, wealthy, eating well every day, and someone literally eating the scraps from the ground, and dogs are licking his wounds. Ooh. Ooh. But we get a glimpse into life after death. They die, and Lazarus is in heaven, and the rich man is in hell. And there's this great fixed chasm between them. And he begs to be brought over to the other side, this rich man. And the answer is no. We hear Abraham speaking, and I think Abraham's really speaking, the words that God would in this particular parable. But he says to him, like, you should have listened to the prophets, like you were warned. And he's like, I gotta tell my brothers. And he's like, well, you had the prophets. And he's like, well, at least let me go back and tell my brothers, like, come back to life, go tell my brothers, and then come back here. And he says this powerful statement, verse 30. And he said, no, Father Abraham. Oh, sorry. Verse 31. He said to him, if they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead. And this profound foreshadowing is happening with Jesus saying, you know what? If they weren't listening to the prophets, if they weren't listening to what Moses was saying, what the prophets were saying, they're not going to listen to a resurrected prophet, to Jesus, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. They're just not going to pay attention. And sadly, it's true. But we see immediately God exalts the opposite of what we would expect. He exalts the humble. He doesn't really pay attention to the titles that we have here on this earth, the glory, the fame, the prestige, the money. God is concerned with matters of the heart, with obedience, with integrity, purity, and a seeker. He wants us to seek him. And so I was thinking about this theme of, what's exalted here, who's exalted here. And I was reminded of this book that I read that's super good. It's a super easy read. It's called Anonymous by Alicia Britt Chole. I think that's how you say her last name. It's so good. I actually couldn't find the quote that I was looking for. Unfortunately, I scoured the pages. But essentially, she talks about the hidden years of Jesus and yours. It's a very powerful book. But she also talks about how, some of the most beautiful singers will never be known. They're tucked back in gems that are tucked back into mountains and unrecorded. And some of the most profound, wise people may never get that book published. And the point is that some things are hidden. And sometimes we have these hidden seasons, just like Lazarus, his whole life was never exalted. But if we have this eternal perspective, knowing that God exalts the humble, we're not concerned for matters of how much money can I make and how famous can I get. But rather we're concerned with pleasing God, not man. So that's just a thought for today, and today was all over the board. My Devos with Debbie are going to shift a little. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to do them for the next couple months, but I probably will. Because in my Bible study, we're going to be doing a book on Daniel with a study written by Beth Moore. And so, not sure if I'll regurgitate that here or not. We'll see. But regardless, I'll see you later. Ciao.